Hi everyone, and welcome to another tutorial by Blender Amigos. This is Dan, and today we are going to go through basically texturing. It's actually a more advanced version on texturing and using the node compositors, the material nodes. What I intended to do was finishing off the Dark Knight tutorial and how to texture the Dark Knight, but I, when I was doing it, I kind of like go over the intended time that I want to have a tutorial on explaining some of these. So I prefer just to make separate tutorial on like uh, basic but more advanced than the previous tutorial about texturing. So we could say this a comprehensive tutorial on using the image textures and color ramp. That's what we'll be using in this tutorial, and my new newer tutorials I will basically be using some of the same techniques here. So what I will be showing you today is the blending and using color ramps, diffuse nodes in more details. So without further ado, let's get on to it. So this one here I have set up before. It's basically just a plane with the camera pointing down. Nothing too special about it. We won't go through the setup of it uh, because it's not important. So basically I just got a ramp there, and then I add in, oh, let me just change that. I just add in a material node. So let's just start from here actually. So when you press new material, actually let's go new material, and because I know what texture I'm gonna put in. It's a picture of a smoker. It's quite a good image actually, but let's never worry about that. And then I already UV unwrapped this. I won't go through that. I think I've already done tutorials on it, and it's pretty simple. Go into edit mode, press U, and you can do unwrap or project from view. It doesn't matter. Alright, so and then I line my picture up. Right now there's nothing there, so we're just gonna add in a picture. So Shift A in the node material here, and then we're gonna add in a uh, basically adding a texture image. You guys don't have to follow this at home. It's basically more of a theory lesson than a practical lesson. So right now we're just gonna import that in. So you can see our image right there when you go to viewport shading material. We're just gonna go to render and see what's happening. Alright, so this is our image, and this is our original image, so there is no alterations to this, there's no editing. So this is what our image will look like if we just view it. So now what happened here is I just want to show you one thing. I reckon two things. Um, Using a mask, uh, using another image as a mask, and using color ramp as kind of like a controller for that mask. So let's just take you through what's a color ramp is. So if you when we insert a color, no, sorry, converter color ramp, and then we place it in between here. So what you basically see is when you place it in here, when you add the color ramp, it's a black on the left and white on the right. So this is ineffective. It's kind of like brightness and contrast. I will demonstrate why. As I slide the black end down, you can see that the whole image getting darker, and at the same time the contrast is going up, because as the black and white get closer, uh, the the transition between it gets a little more intense, so more rapid. So that's increasing the brightness and contrast. It is a little bit different to brightness and contrast. When you add a, let's just delete this and add in a brightness and contrast. Oh, shoot, sorry. Brightness and contrast node, and we chuck it in. As I increase the brightness, you see the entire image get brighter, so even the dark spot. But if I just use the color ramp, you can see that the dark parts get darker and the lighter part. So it's kind of separating the light tone and the shadow tone, and then um, kind of the dark tone kind of seeps in a little bit. So this is quite useful actually, because when you have like multiple texture and you use this as commands, you can have that effect where um, trees have grow moss on them. So basically, you have a moss texture, and then you kind of like animate this, and then you can have the moss growing around over the tree. So that's an application for the color ramp. Um, sorry, let's just add back that color brightness and contrast. So when you use this instead of that, when you turn the brightness contrast up, you can see that it's not actually the same as what happening there. So you can see that the colors get, you know, I'm not sure what they call this, but there's colors to this. Uh, but with this, it's just black and white. That's another thing about the color ramp, is actually they overlay it with another color. Right now it's black and white, so our output image gonna be in grayscale. So here's the grayscale, and here's the black, and here's the white. Okay, so that's basically that. And let's move the white end up. You can move the white end up. The light tone seeps over to the black tone, and like I said, as the gradient here gets smaller, the transition gets more rapid, and you can see higher contrast here and here, but it does bring up the lighter tone. Okay, so that's, and now we ask what happened if we flip the ends. So basically it inverts the image. So now the dark tone is the what is white, and the light tone is dark. Let's just get rid of so it's an interesting result. And if you just think of it as now the light here would be the shadow, and before this was the shadow. So if we move this closer to the black area, you can see the shadow with exclamation marks. No, that's not exclamation mark. What do you call it? Quotation mark. The shadow is kind of like seeping over to the light area. So you can see that as it happens, and the same principle happens on this side. And so what application it has? This has is, imagine you have a texture which the part that you want to mask is inverted. So you have to invert the color ramp so that the inverted part becomes the part that you use as a mask. I hope that makes sense. Kind of I haven't prepared for that explanation very well. But you can see what's happening here. All right, so now let's just quickly change this back to black and white. All right, now what happened if we change this color, right, into red? So I'm just going to turn the red channel up, and you can see that the dark tone becomes red, and in some sense, like here, it does becomes a little bit red because it's actually a grayscale. Basically, not all of this is perfectly white. That's why you have uh, red overlay all over it. And let's turn this back to black, and let's turn the lighter side up, and let's see what happened. Down. So let's turn to red. So now you can see that the light tone is red, and the dark tone stays black because there are some parts that is actually just black, and that's why it stays black. But if we change the black here to a gray, you can see that we can change that. Okay, so we can change the dark shadows into different color. So let's just move this there. If we change it to green, you can see that this dark part here becomes green, and the parts between black and white, the transition between black and white is now have a mixture. So around here. So in a sense, what this node does is turn your image into a black and white, into a grayscale, and then it just basically putting all these values in as the transitions happen from here. So yeah, So this is good in the sense that you can change basically if you have a texture of maybe wooden planks and it's not actually the color you like, so you can actually tone your texture to the color you want according to the black and white, and yeah, that's basically that. Okay, so we just going to change this back into white. All right, so this is our original image. Now, that's the first part. And next part here is I'm going to show you how to put on a mask using another texture. This is very, very handy in the fact that maybe, like I said, the tree, so you have a texture underneath of the box, and then you have another texture over the top of the mask, and then you have a texture for like the transition and the growing of the mask. So you can use effectively you can just use two and you can use three, but the principle stays the same. It's basically you using another image as a mask. So what we'll do is we will let's duplicate this diffuse node, and then we'll add in a mix. No, no. All right, just a quick point there because I just made a mistake and I think I should bring it up. A mix node is different to a mix shader. Okay, a mix shader mixes the diffuse and any other shaders. Okay, but the mix node actually mixes pictures and colors. It's a little bit confusing at first, but when you start to use it, you understand, because like, oh, isn't diffuse color is the color of the object? It is, but you can't actually plug the diffuse into here. It's just gonna turn black, I reckon. There you go. So it is different. So just basically just remember, if you want to mix shaders, you have to use a mix shader, and if you want to mix colors, use a mix node. Okay. So anyway, so without further ado, let's just get rid of that and connect this in. Now let's just make this some kind of ridiculous color so we can recognize it uh, instantly when we see the mask. So now what's happening here is we mix our original image with a green tinge. It's kind of like turning this end up to green a little bit, but it is a little bit different since like the dark part here is not absolutely black, like I shown you before. So now let's duplicate this image texture and connect it into here. Okay, so because it's the same image, it's not going to show you anything different, but I'm just going to use this. I just think if it fits. If you got a smoker and the smoke that's AB, I'm not sure what AB stands for. So now you can see the result immediately is that the original image, the white part now becomes green. Okay, so basically what Blender is doing is using the white part as the stencil and then place it on the top and cut out underneath on the picture and then show the underneath green. Okay, all right, so just keep that in mind. Now there's not much control we can do if we just connect it like that. If we wanted this part, the outline here to be cut out, and this here to show the picture underneath. We can't do that just like this. So again, we just color ramps are very useful. So we're just gonna add in the color ramps right now. This is its natural state, so it doesn't show anything. But let's do the inversion like we did before. You can see what's happening here is that now the green is on top and becomes the stencil, and then you cut out here, and then you see the picture underneath. Okay, so this is quite useful. And again, as we put the two ends close together, the transition in the gradient, the transition between two colors gets more rapid. So you have more kind of contrast between white and black, leaving this more crisper cut. Okay, and the same as if it was the other way around. And so however, we have messed around with the other color ramp. This thing also happened the same thing. So here is a perfect example of what I said before about um, about the moss growing on the tree and stuff. So you start with no moss, and then slow you animate this, and then oh yes, here comes some moss over the tree. So this is the kind of effect that gives you that uh, grow trees growing old kind of effect. All right. So I'm that's basically it for this tutorial. The part two of this comprehensive studies into the material uh, material nodes, material shaders of Blender cycles is going to be about displacement. But I decided to kind of separate it because it's different in the way that I show you here. All right, guys. I hope you learned something from today. Um, if you guys know any other techniques, please put on the comment below, or I will have a Facebook group page out soon, so maybe we could exchange idea. That's basically what Blender Amigos is about. I'm not really a teacher or tutor. I'm just a friend who is very enthusiastic in Blender, and I hope you guys all are. And I just hope that we can share ideas and kind of like develop our skills together. And I guess that's the whole fun about uh, CG animation is that we can share works uh, and yeah, and kind of help each other out. I think that's a very important thing, and sharing ideas, creations, and hopefully in the future maybe we could work together on some kind of project. And thank you very much, guys. I'll see you next time.